about, there's something that was fundamentally wrong with what he said. And I want to make this abundantly clear. Scientists don't just publish and then get peer reviewed. Sure, they get critiqued after a publication comes out. That's part of the discourse of science. And people write papers all the time that dispute other scientific papers. That's how science works, through dispute. But more importantly, if I'm a scientist and I send my evidence and my article to a publishing company, which has no ties to any government whatsoever, that publishing company sends that to other scientists for peer review before they publish it. In other words, they have scientists that are unbiased, that they select, that are knowledgeable in the field in which that person wants to publish, that decides whether that article has weight, holds credence. That is a fantastic form of discourse. That is a fantastic way that evidence gets put forth into society. And so there's no arguing that the scientific argument is steeped thoroughly in a vetting process, and that the proven results of that have created a better world of which we live. Scientists today, 95% of every single peer-reviewed journal today say that humans are contributing to climate change, and that greenhouse gases, which everyone, that's completely not in dispute, warm our climate. Greenhouse gases. CO2 is a greenhouse gas. And humans have put more CO2, which is, by the way, a different type of CO2 than the type we breathe. So we can actually measure how many isotopes it has. We can measure its weight and say, hey, that's man-made CO2 from industry. And we can study that and see how that is changing our climate, how we're adding CO2 to the atmosphere, and how more CO2 is in the atmosphere than ever before. So that is the evidence that we're putting forth. The peer-reviewed evidence, and the rant about history. I mean, Mr. Gutt is a history guy, so that's fantastic, but it makes no sense. It makes no sense.
I'm thoroughly going to disagree with that, Mr. Freeman. I think it makes a lot of sense. Okay? Again, in today's climate, people that disagree with the leftist mantra of man-made global warming don't get the funding. They don't get to conduct their science. But let's make a foray into evidence that Mr. Freeman likes to talk about. As we said last time, people, scientific method, the samples have to be representative. When NASA, I'm sure you've heard of NASA. When NASA's Goddard Institute for Space Studies reported that 2014 was the hottest year in record, they made this determination from a huge increase in temperature, average temperature, in South America. We're talking about area Brazil, Paraguay, and Argentina. However, children, there are few meteorological stations in these areas, far fewer than there are in other parts of the world. This makes the data that they're generating, keep in mind, they're concluding that 2014 was the hottest year in record. They're using data from relatively few stations across a huge landmass. The few stations in this area, the few stations that are in this area now also provide polluted data, if you will, because the thermometers that measure the temperature are located in areas that are obviously hotter. And I'm sure you understand that, if you're standing out on a concrete parking lot, okay, in the middle of summer, it's much hotter than you are if you're standing, on a field, on a grass field. Okay, so they're putting their thermometers in places that we know are already hotter than the surrounding areas, like parking lots and concrete buildings. Meteorologist Anthony once challenged this data. Okay, so you have the 5%ers, I guess. Used to be 99 to 1. Now it's 5%. So the 5%ers, like Anthony Watts, are challenging these. He's questioning the IPCC, okay, the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. He says these scientists then say that their results, okay, are confirmed by satellite data. So now we're changing the game again, which we always seem to do. Okay, we don't have the reporting stations on the ground, so now we're going to use